great to be here, and I wanted to tell you as we get started that I'm here to share a good news story. It's not going to feel like that as I start in, and we're going to go through kind of what we're going to talk about, because it's going to feel about a third of the way through you're going to stop me and you're going to say, Jim, I thought this was a good news story. When does the good news come? And I promise you that it is a good news story, and we're going to get there. Because to my way of thinking, financial services and credit unions in particular are standing really at a crossroads. And this is probably one of the most profound shifts in financial services that we will ever experience in our lifetime. And it's because we have all of these forces kind of converging at the same time. Changes in the nation's demographic profile, changes in technology, changes in expectations from consumers, and the opportunities are a little bit different. And I'm here to tell you, I believe that credit unions are positioned better than any other type of financial services company to take advantage of the opportunities before us. So let's talk about that population, and let me clarify for a second. When I talk Gen Y, I sometimes will use the phrase millennial, and I'm sure you've heard both phrases or names kind of defining this generation. What I'm really talking about is consumers between the ages of 17 and 35. And I know that you have somebody in your family, a child, a grandchild, or somebody who works for you who fits into that population. When I talk about this, that's the person I'd like for you to think about. And I think that you're going to start to nod along and say, oh yeah, that sounds like her, that sure does. And so, when we talk about this, it really doesn't matter what we call them. The bottom line is, it's 1 out of 4 Americans. It's a quarter of the population. And I get calls and I talk to people at conferences all the time, and they say, oh, you're lucky at Darden. You've got a huge millennial population. We don't have any. And I'd say, you don't think you have people who are 25 years old who live in your field of membership or who work for your select groups? They're there. You can't not have millennials in your population. It's a quarter of the population. So it's important for all of us, regardless of our field of membership, to pay attention and to find them. You probably have them. They're not doing business with you, and they're not doing business with you probably for a reason. So let's figure out what that reason is, because you'd better start to serve them and you better pay attention. And you can't dismiss them as a generation. If you dismiss this generation as lazy or privileged or whatever, and you don't pay attention to them, your credit union's going to go out of business. Because this is the population that's inheriting the wealth. They're the ones that are taking the jobs. They're the ones who are going to be buying cars and homes and things. And so we have got to pay attention to this group. And we have to get over our own misconceptions about the group. To say they're lazy. Well, we say they're lazy because they won't come in a half hour early without being asked. They won't stay a half hour later without being asked. And we say, then you don't want to be successful. And the millennial doesn't think of success that way. The millennial thinks of success as enjoying life now. The millennials say, I'm not going to work 50 or 60 hours a week for you. For what? So I can get heart disease and have a heart attack when I'm 55 years old, and you can lose my pension like you lost my dad's pension? No thanks. You want me to work hard now and work 60 hours a week so maybe I can retire at 65 and enjoy life then? Don't need it. I'm going to enjoy my life now. In fact, if I could work 30 hours a week, I'd do that. And I'd spend the extra 10 hours with my kids, or with my family, or with my friends, or with my pets. And I think when we hear that, if you're honest with yourself, you're going to be like what I did, which was, that's actually a pretty good way to think about it. So they don't define success the way that you and I have. They don't define happiness the way that maybe we have. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just a different perspective. And the idea of consumerism is different with this group. In fact, they have a different attitude towards debt altogether. They saw what their parents went through in 2008 and 2009. Their parents used their homes like an ATM machine and put on additions and put in pools and everything. And then what happened when the values of the homes went down? Everybody was upside down. People lost their homes. Millennials say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get in that kind of position. Does that mean something to us in financial services? It does. Maybe means the day of us living off of home equity loans and first mortgages are over. Because even when they start to buy homes, they're going to buy homes that are smaller, less money, in up-and-coming neighborhoods. They'll put the sweat equity in. The way they define it is different.